On, everybody. We're welcome back to Monday Evening Football. We got Scott phoning in today, so you'll see
How
him
we
over
doing?
over. If you're listening to this, it won't matter to you. You will have the same experience. But if you're watching us, this blue Skype logo over here to my left is
That's
that's
me.
Scott today. Scott,
That's me today. I'm
Scott,
on
how's it?
vacation. I'm up in the mountains, the
There
hilly
we go.
areas,
There we go.
and people don't tell you that recording sports like that or reporting on sports like this is so strenuous and things like that. So
That's a.
sometimes you just need a little R&R, and
Hey,
that's what we're doing here.
I like
But
it.
unfortunately, that does come with a price of bad internet connection. So
Hey, that's that's how it goes from time to time. It's
yep,
we don't get to see your smiling face, but all good. I like to think of the glass as half full. I think
we
the benefit of the internet is
absolutely
look at us now. We can still do this show even though you're at a mountainous resort uh vacation retreat. And that
yeah,
is pretty awesome. We get to bring the people a bunch of NFL news and notes. So I'm excited.
absolutely. And before anyone jumps to conclusion, I'm not in rehab or anything like this. This really was some resting relaxation with a girlfriend. Okay, so let's
That's
not
what it
let's not
is.
start any rumors out there. We're here to talk about sports. We're here to analyze what's going on in the NFL. We're here to bring you the best takes on the NFL, the best positive takes too, because there's too many of those guys that just try to do the negative takes for views and stuff. You know,
No
we'll
doubt.
do a negative take here or there, but that's only if we really feel it. You know what I mean? So Nick, I'm
Absolutely.
excited for what we got today. Monday, Memorial Day. Shout out to the people who have served.
Yep, yep.
Thank you for your sacrifice, all that great stuff. Um, hey, but let's get right into it. Hey, did you see our guy Jay Cutler over former quarterback of the Bears, Denver Broncos, whoever you wanted to root for?
Yep.
He kind of went on ESPN 1000 the other day and said Andy Dalton should start over Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, Nick, I don't know if Jay Cutler and the Bears media team is on the same page when it comes to that.
Yeah, that is definitely not the case, Scott. Referencing that Instagram there, yes, that Instagram has been absolutely popping with Justin Fields
Oh, for sure.
photos and graphics. Meanwhile, Andy Dalton, as we've said on the show before, Scott, still a damn good quarterback. I think both of us
Absolutely.
can understand where Jay Cutler's coming from. Actually, this might be the first thing that we agree with Jay Cutler on in his entire life.
For sure.
But
Well,
actually, you
besides
know
the
what?
stuff that he said on Very Cavallari, because
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say,
fucked with him hard.
in fairness, he was pretty solid on that show. He was
Yeah, for sure.
there was one episode where she she came home in like the middle of the afternoon and he was drinking wine at like fucking I think it was like 3 in the afternoon. And
Gotta love it.
she was like, "Oh, we're just drinking at 3 in the afternoon," and he was like, "It's my heart medicine."
It is good
But
for heart health.
fucking phenomenal. So that guy, oh man, incredible. But I mean,
He knows what he's talking about, is what you're saying.
that's what exactly. And I think he's right. Andy Dalton should start. I mean, the Bears fans are going to be, this is going to get everything stirred up in Chicago, which I love to see. But
For sure.
I mean, yeah, like he should be the starting quarterback. See, you know what's weird though? This is kind of one of those things, right? Where it's kind of like
Hmm.
so you see this a lot lately in the news with Brett Favre, I feel like, where it's like
Yeah.
Brett Favre is talking a lot about the Aaron Rodgers situation. Now you got Cutler coming out, he's talking about this whole situation. You got another former player in Shannon Sharp, obviously trying to insert himself in some of Julio Jones' situation. Like a lot of these former players,
Yep.
man, have a lot of opinions, and it's weird because it's like I don't really care what Jay Cutler thinks about Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. Kind of just seems messy. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm like, dude, just get out of here. Like I do not like I don't care. Like just ride off into the sunset, do your thing. But like, what are you commenting on?
Yeah.
You played for two teams in your career. Like I don't see you talking about the Broncos. That's the way I would feel if I was a Bears fan. And I can
Yeah.
relate to Bears fans here because whenever Brett Favre opens his mouth for the last 10 years, I'm just like, here we go. Like this
Yeah.
guy's
It's
gonna.
like it. It's one thing if you handled your situation perfectly without mistakes, but it's like Brett, you definitely did not. Jay Cutler, you didn't either.
Yep.
So it's like for you to talk on these other situations, like yeah, I guess you're qualified in that you have experience playing the position, but like as far as like the game and where it's at today, I don't know, especially Brett Favre if he's necessarily qualified. and Jay Cutler probably a little more qualified because he's played in more of today's game. But I agree with him. I agree with him that I think Justin Fields isn't ready, and that's not a knock on Justin Fields. I think he will be a great quarterback if he can sit a year. I think that is going to be an interesting thing that we see with the Packers and Jordan Love, because if that happens to work out where we brought him in and he sat and then he played very well and not being thrown in the fire and trying to have to pick up things quick, I think you ruin a lot of good quarterbacks by doing that. Like a Sam Darnold type of guy, potentially a Justin Fields if he gets thrown in the fire. But there's been so many times, Nick, we've seen it where, you got a quarterback, an RG3 type maybe, who they come in, they put him in starter year one. And I just think that it's a lot for even if you are one of the best quarterbacks, you do have to be an elite talent to make that jump to just playing right away.
Yeah.
And not to say that Justin Fields isn't a guy that could do that, but I just think if you have a guy in Andy Dalton who's done it a little bit, why not just ride with Andrew Dalton and just for
sure.
year one and bring Fields along, gradually and say, hey, we got a future guy here in Fields, but let's let Andy Dalton take the reins this year, show us what he can do. Because, to be honest, if you're the Bears fan, you're probably a little more set up with Andy Dalton coming in and being able to just slay on the football field. And then it's Andy Dalton's job to lose, obviously. I mean, if he's not producing through, the first 8 weeks, don't know if you make a decision any sooner than that. But, knowing the Bears, they might do that, actually. But I think you just let it play out a little bit with Andy Dalton. And unless you see something really amazing from Justin Fields in practice that is like, okay, yeah, this guy, deserves to be put in. But I think he has to really blow Andy Dalton out of the water in practice for that to even happen.
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, is Jay Cutler butting into something he shouldn't? Probably. Yet
Yeah.
at the same time, is he right? Probably. So it's kind of like one of those
Yeah.
things, where it's like I mean, that's just the case, But will the Bears fans get on the same page as you there? I don't know. I anticipate they will get very impatient with Andy Dalton, probably unreasonably impatient with him.
Yeah.
And in my personal opinion, I don't know that this is right, but I don't see a world where Justin Fields does not start a game for the Bears this year. Justin Fields will definitely
For
start a
sure.
game for the Bears as a rookie. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure where, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, I would agree. I would 100% agree. And and I don't blame the Bears fans for not having patience, in situations like this anymore, because
For sure.
to be honest, like they've been patient, but like the last 5 years, like my patience would be worn out too,
Yep.
It's I'm not gonna lie, like what the Bears are going through, that's like a shit sandwich, you know what I mean?
For sure.
And it's not a sandwich that I want to take a bite of or even be near. And I hope the Packers never pack that for lunch for me ever.
No doubt. Coming up
Because
on
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. It's a tough situation to go
it
through,
is.
and it's seemingly and maybe that's due to maybe the ownership of the Chicago Bears making it like a tougher situation to climb out of. But it just I don't even want to get back into that situation. So
Right.
hopefully the Packers can avoid that at all cost. But yeah, I mean, I definitely understand like the Bears not having patience and just want a guy. But I mean, in this situation, I feel like this situation is a little different from the ones in the past, because I
Yep.
think you do have two guys who are very, very good at the position and who could come in and make an impact for your team. So I mean, it's going to be a tough decision for the Bears who to start and who to rock with. Maybe they get it right.
No
And like
doubt.
we said, Nick, it's only good for the NFL if that third big market team could get it right and start firing on all cylinders. But we'll have to wait and see. What goes on with that quarterback situation over there. But I did see, I don't know if you saw this, Nick, last week in OTAs, Mac Jones coming with a little bit of that swagger.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And so it kind of had some people they were for it, and
Right.
then a lot of other people they were like not necessarily the Patriot way, I guess.
Yep.
But here's the thing too, it's like they were also pointing out his size, that he's very undersized. But I mean, obviously if you're standing next to a guy like Cam Newton, like that's to be expected.
Yep.
But I think their other quarterback, he was a little smaller than too. So interesting to see what's going on with Mac Jones there. But from other than that, I heard the accuracy was on point. Like the football skills, it seemed to be there for him. So interesting that you kind of see like a couple different reports coming out of last week OTAs from the Patriots. But we'll kind of see what's going on over there with Mackie,
Yeah, no
Mac
doubt.
Daddy.
Mac Jones, interestingly, in just finds himself, another rookie quarterback. He finds himself in a bit more of a comfortable position than Fields, right? I mean, the Chicago
Yep.
Bears organization is coming up on, we're getting close to the 40th anniversary of the
Yep.
Super Bowl in '85. So they have not had the same success the
Hmm.
Patriots have had over that same 40-year
Yep.
span. And because of that, the Patriots, that this is a team that I think is actually able to bring him along slowly. I think that
Yes.
you have Cam Newton in there. Cam Newton is definitely struggled a little bit last year at times, but you would think learning a whole new offense coming into that Patriots culture would maybe take you a year or two. So I'm very interested to see what
Yeah.
Cam Newton looks like this season. But yeah, I mean Mac Jones is in a good spot, and I did see some of those reports. It's like some people were like not as happy, especially with the size thing, because I read
Yeah.
that like he's listed at the same height and weight basically as Stidham. Like they're both like listed at
Yep.
like six
I
three whatever, but he looks significantly
probably.
shorter than Stidham in practice, and so it's interesting because. I mean, I don't know why. I get it. Like, I guess you lie, but it's
Do you,
kind of like why? Because
well,
it's not high school. Like,
do you think he?
what are you doing?
Yeah. Do you
Like,
think he forgot? Yeah, because I mean, once you get on the field, it's not going to matter really what size you are. It's
right,
not
for sure. Look
like
at
I
Russell
mean, I
Wilson.
guess I get why you do it. I get why you do it, but like, it's not. It's not really going to matter. But do you think maybe he just forgot his cleat inserts
That's
yesterday
that's what
or
it
last
was.
week at practice?
He
Or
got caught. He got caught without the the
yeah,
orthopedics.
he went from a different spike length is
That's
what
what
it was.
that's what it was.
He went from the 3 inches down to a
See,
quarter inch to an inch
of
for
course,
more foot safety, obviously.
of course,
So maybe that's what it was.
that could be what it was.
So honest mistake over there from the Patriots
But
with the size listing.
you've got to
But
feel you've got to
I
feel good though if that's the critique on a player in the modern NFL, you got to feel good because that
yeah
means there's not a lot to critique. Like look at Kyler Murray, like that dude is smaller than I
yeah
am. Like he is
yeah
not
yeah
like at this point in the NFL, especially a quarterback with guys like Russell Wilson, with guys like Kyler Murray, with guys
yeah
that are as like look at Lamar Jackson. He's not a big dude, but he's running all over the field. He's
yep
taking like the modern NFL, if you are talking about quarterback size as a negative, now I can see it as a positive. You got some giant dude coming in there, 6'6", for sure. Still a positive, but
yep
if we're going to talk about a smaller quarterback as some sort of an issue, it's just, I mean, you're kind of grasping at straws at this point. So if you're a Patriots fan, I think you got to feel
yeah
pretty excited that that's the only real knock on Mac Jones that we've heard so far.
yes. And like you said, like I mean you when you see other people at the position that are similar to you, maybe on the shorter side, or maybe not as much arm strength, but quicker and can run the ball, or different things like that. When you see that's already in the NFL, then it to me that, like you said, Nick, a lot less of a concern
Yep.
than if like it's like, okay, well, this is the only guy who's a size in the NFL. That would be a little concerning. But like you said, hey, that's the only knock. If I'm a Patriots fan, I'm very happy there.
There we go.
Um,
Well,
and really there's really nothing going to be able to stop Mac Jones in the future unless the former Giants running back himself, Brandon Jacobs, comes back, because he's had some success against the Patriots,
yes.
and he's talking about making a comeback maybe at defensive end. And you know what? I'm interested to see these NFL players that are being like, well, I want to change position and try to make
Hmm.
a late career comeback. Hey, that's a definitely an interesting thing that I think we're starting to see develop. With Tim Tebow going to tight end, and then Brandon Jacobs looking to come back and play defensive end.
Yep.
Now, that I think it'll be interesting. I don't know how running back translates to defensive end, but hey, if he
Right.
can do it, that would be something exciting, and I think it opens up a whole different potential aspect of the game.
Yeah, no doubt. It's interesting to see, right? It's like with these contracts nowadays, as big as they are, if you feel like you
Yeah,
can still do a little something and you feel like you still got a foot in the door, why not? Why not? I mean,
yeah,
I can totally understand that. Why not? it's weird though because I just always wonder to myself in situations like this, is a former running back, right, who's been, I believe, out of the
Yeah.
league for a little while now,
Yeah.
is that guy going to be able to transition to a new position on the other side of the ball and be better and help a team more than some kid that just went undrafted? I am not a big believer in that. I would like for Brandon Jacobs to be able to be successful in his life doing whatever he wants to do. No
Yep.
issues with that. I liked him when he played for the Giants. But the reality is,
Yep.
in my mind, I always think to myself, like, there has got to be some kids from the Big Ten and the SEC that went undrafted that if you put them in training camp, they've been playing defensive end their whole life. They're bigger,
Yeah.
stronger, faster. If you put them out there, they're probably going to help a team a lot more than Brandon Jacobs. So, in a
Yeah.
way,
And
does it feel a little bit like a reach to me? Yes. Does it feel like a team like
yeah.
the Giants, if they were to bring him back, would be doing him a little bit of a favor? Yeah. I'm sure the guy's working hard.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's working hard. But to be honest, to me, it's like, I don't know. I
For
say
sure.
let a kid get a shot, man.
Yeah.
Like you already did your thing. Like you trying to switch positions to the other side of the ball. Like
Yeah.
it would be kind of awesome, but at the same time, I kind of feel like there's some of these kids out here that would probably run circles around my man and in training camp, and
For sure.
that'll probably end up being
Yeah.
what
And
happens.
like here's the other thing too is like if you're looking at it from the team perspective, like you have a guy in Brandon Jacobs who's older, trying to play defensive end. Now, if he can make that transition and just kill it, come in and be a starting defensive end,
Right.
like if he is talented enough to do that, then yeah, okay, maybe a team looks at him. But like if you're not going to bring a guy on like Brandon Jacobs and be like, oh, he's going to be good in like 2 to 3 years at the defensive end position.
Right.
That makes no sense because in those 2 to 3 years, he's like, okay, now I'm at the end of my career. I'm done. No chance to re-sign him,
Yep.
extension, stuff like that. So the upside on a guy like Brandon Jacobs playing at the defensive end position is like he would have to show that he could play this year at some point in the season
Yep.
and by next year at the very latest. Otherwise, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense unless he's contributing from day one.
Right.
Other than that, I think you go with the younger guy who is hungry, wants to prove himself, and has a potential greater upside just because of the age factor. But who knows? Maybe being in the NFL, picking up pass blocks, stuff like that. Maybe he has a great understanding of the defensive side of the ball, and
Yep.
maybe he's worked with defensive linemen, on his teams throughout the years, just picking up techniques and stuff like so he knew how to pick up blocks and stuff like that. So maybe he does have an interesting insight that he could use to his advantage to make it happen. But I mean, like I said, unless he's contributing day one, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a thing. But hey, I'm here for it. If Brandon Jacobs can pull it off,
Right.
that's great. Right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
an interesting storyline to watch moving forward, and we'll see if more players look to do the same thing, right?
sure. Yeah. I mean, look at Tebow. I mean, the sports book set his TD prop of 2.5 for Jacksonville Jaguars.
There we go.
Got there. Do you know, Nick?
I mean, 2.5 touchdowns for Tebow on the year is fascinating, right? You have to
That's on the year.
you have to have a lot.
I'm hammering the
You have to
over.
have a
But
lot.
I think it's probably a good line.
It is. I mean, in reality, you have to have a lot of stuff happen before the season starts, right? So he has to make the team, which we think is probably a foregone conclusion, but that is part of it. Has to be
Yeah,
able
I
to
think
has to be
so.
able to stay
Yep.
healthy. And then you have to consider that like there's probably not a world where Tebow is the starting tight end, right? So the only chance he's going to have to get touchdowns
Yep.
is going to be some sort of like goal line type of package in that tight end
Yep.
role, or potentially some sort of wildcat Taysom Hill type thing like they've been talking about, right? So that's the thing. Now,
Yeah.
2.5 touchdowns. Here's my question: is it 2.5 touchdowns as a tight end, or is it 2.5 touchdowns total? Because I could see him getting like 2 rushing touchdowns over the course of the season in some sort of weird like wild, or
Yeah.
like a like
Fold
like a
back. Oh, full back
pass.
roll maybe.
Like so if it's 2.5 total touchdowns, I don't know that that's a bad bet. I think I saw the line is like it's pretty close right now. Like the betting, I think it's like I think the under is like
Oh, I'm sure.
paying like plus 125. I think the over is like minus 160 or something. So it's like it's not crazy like right
Yeah.
now. I mean it's interesting, right? It's very interesting. That's uh
Here,
that's
here,
one where that I kind of want to
I,
stay
I
away
mean,
from,
I think
you know.
really,
Yeah,
I'm hammering the over, Nick. I think a guy like
okay.
Tebow, once he makes the team, man, you get him into those late weeks,
Uh,
where now he's working in the offense. I don't see how like a guy like Tebow won't work himself into the starting
mm,
rotation at tight end. It's just so hard for me to see that not happening because of that dude has a work ethic like you wouldn't believe. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
you
true.
see him in the pictures coming out of training camp and just how jacked
Oh,
he looks.
thick.
Like to me, that dude is going to, and like to be honest, this is probably like when he went and played baseball and people were like, you probably won't have that much success. He still had some success, but I think this is probably like the position where he could thrive the most in the sports scenario right
Yep,
now, like a sports team setting
yep.
at the tight end position. So I think it's easy, not easy, but like I think we're gonna see more of Tebow than people think, maybe care to admit. And I think especially towards that latter half of the season, I think you're gonna see a heavy dose of Timmy Tebow. And you know what? I'm here for it. So I would hammer the over 2.5. If they had an alt bet of 6 touchdowns on the year, I would hammer that too. Um, because that's where I think this Tim Tebow thing's going.
It's going.
But that's just me. I'm not a financial
Tim Tebow.
advisor. And
Tim
you know what?
Tim Tebow.
If you disagree with me, you can get the hell out of
Tim
here.
Tebow in your mind is going to potentially be able to score 6 or more touchdowns on the season as the starting tight end
Yeah,
for
if
the
we're if
Jaguars.
yeah, if yeah, but they're not all receiving touchdowns, so we got to
Okay,
take that
okay,
into
okay.
account. Okay.
Okay, so I got
Yeah.
you. I was
I imagine at one point in the season, he'll probably in the late game scenario holding the kick
yeah, right. Okay.
kicker, and he calls an audible out.
Some like along those lines. Something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That'll count for one, and then we only need 5 more. He's probably going to catch 2 or 3, a little tight end out package, double tight
There you
ends.
go.
I could see him, and then you get a like maybe 1
Is
or 2 fullback runs.
is Tim
It's possible,
See,
but
here's what I
you
think
know,
it is his biggest obstacle during the games will be this in my mind. If you're a defensive player in the NFL, right? You come out,
mhm,
okay? You're like, all right, they're going to probably pass. So we're either going to be in a man or a zone, right? Say you're in a man coverage. All
yep,
right, you got Tebow. You're like definitely heightened sense of awareness on that play. Like you're like, look, I'm not going to be the dude that Tebow scores on. No way. So if you're manned up against him, like you might it's there's going to be a lot going on there, right? You're not just going to
for
give up
sure.
a touchdown to Tebow. It's going to be a tough ride. Now against the zone coverage, maybe he's able to get loose a little bit, right? It's a little bit more, he's kind of heading through. Okay, he's going to try to find a little opening in the zone.
For sure.
Nobody's there trying to take his head off, because it's kind of like, okay, well, he might go this way, he might go that, that potentially helps him out a little, right?
Yeah.
Is that he's not
Yep.
necessarily is in as much of a predicament as he is against a man? Because I just think the psychology of defenses when they see Tim Tebow come trotting onto the field is like, I mean, obviously they're going to involve this dude in this play more than likely. Like, look at him. Even if he's a decoy, like he's going to get involved. So I'm definitely
For
lighting his
sure.
ass up if I'm playing man for sure. Like the second the ball is snapped, I'm going to hit this dude with everything I got. Is probably going to be the thought of a lot of defenders, I would imagine.
For
Um,
sure. But here's the thing, Nick. I don't think even if you hit that dude with everything,
I know he's I
like
know
he's like
he's looking really. Yep,
he's Bill, bro.
yep. He's coming off the line.
It,
He's like,
I
oh,
mean,
okay,
he ain't gonna torch enough at his speed, that's for sure.
right. But
Like,
you
but
come in
like
there.
he's not gonna be able to like burn any middle linebackers or nothing like that. But you know,
Yep.
if a safety or a cornerback tries to hit him, they're just gonna hit and fall down.
You
Essentially,
come up,
it's
you
gonna be like
know,
Chad Ochocinco trying to block Ray Lewis on that one video that
safety.
circulates every couple of years. It just
Dude,
ain't gonna work.
safety comes down, man coverage, Tebow, ball gets snapped, safety's thinking like, I'm about to jam this fool, goes to stick them, and Tebow just eats that, chucks him to the
Yeah.
side. He's at, perfect running form. He's right there. Let's go, Trevor Lawrence. Bang. I mean, I can see it. I don't know if I can
Yeah.
see it 6 times, but in fairness, if I was going to take this bet, you have to take the over. Like, do not bet the under.
Yeah.
You should never
Yeah.
bet the
No.
under anyway, ever. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not a financial advisor, but you should not be out here betting the under ever. We
For
bet
sure.
overs on this show, but especially on that bet.
Yep.
Like, if you're going to put money on Tim
Yeah.
Tebow, don't put it against the guy. Who's rooting against him? We're not rooting against him. Certainly. I'm just saying I don't know if he's going to score 3 touchdowns, but I'm definitely not rooting
For sure.
against the guy. I hope he scores 10. I hope they play him at quarterback.
Yes.
I'm here for all of it, but I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, it is going to be interesting to watch him become this this like highlighted element
Yeah.
of the offense, which for the Jaguars, which is phenomenal. Like the fact that this guy
Yeah.
is still after all this time able to come in and make this much noise is amazing.
Yeah, it sure is. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm high on Tim Tebow. Probably higher than I've ever been on him before in my life. So I'm excited to see what happens. But
There we go.
hey, Nick, we potentially have a new landing spot for Julio Jones.
Oh,
The Seattle Seahawks potentially looking to make some moves for the
yep,
Falcons All Pro.
yep. The
And
Seahawks.
yeah, that would be. You think that's Russell Wilson pulling those strings over there?
Got to be, or it's them trying to make Russell Wilson happy. It's one of the two. I think
Oh, for sure. I
if you're
mean, either
them,
way, it's going to make them happy.
so if you're them, you got to be looking around, right? And this makes sense, right? You're looking around. You're in the toughest division in the
Yep.
NFL next year by far. It's not even close. Like it's not even
Yep.
remotely close. And I mean, yeah, if you're the Seahawks right now, you might be kind of feeling like you're fourth in that equation, right? If
Yeah.
you it depends. I think it depends on. I think most people feel like the Rams and Cardinals are probably ahead of the Seahawks at this point.
Yeah.
49ers, it's tough, but a healthy 49ers team, I mean, just made it to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
man, I think they got to be looking to make a move here. I mean, this is, if they're if they're one of these teams that's offering a first round pick, like I don't think that's a bad idea. I have seen the other
Yep.
thing is what I find interesting. There were some rumors circulating that the Rams were potentially floating a trade opportunity for Julio Jones. So I think the Seahawks are
Yeah.
looking like, wait, that's in our division. We can't. I mean, we cannot let that happen. There's just no way.
Yeah.
And think about it, man. I mean, you keep hearing about all these teams with Julio Jones, and they're all such a good
Yep.
fit, right? We've heard Patriots
Yeah.
recently. We've
Yep.
heard Cowboys recently. We've heard Rams recently. But the Seattle
Titans.
Seahawks,
Yeah.
if you put Russell Wilson out there and he's got DK Metcalf and that freak of a human being, and I mean that in the best possible way, on one side of the field and Julio Jones on the other side of the field, like, I mean, what defense is going to do anything with that? That is insanity. Like, that is, and you got Russell Wilson throwing him the ball. I mean, that is a
Yeah.
high-powered offense right there in the making. So, I think it would make that
Yeah.
division even more awesome.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but man, in the NFC, you just do have to wonder every time an NFC team is rumored, would they pull the trigger? Because if you're the Falcons,
Yeah.
and for example, Bill Belichick offers you a third rounder, which he got Randy Moss for, if we remember.
Yep.
He offers you a third rounder. He's sitting over there in the AFC East with the Bills in his division, and you have that option as a Falcon. Send him there, and we don't have to worry about him. Or send him to the Seahawks,
Yeah.
who we very well could be, if we turn this rebuild around quick enough, as you and I have talked about how the NFL moves so fast, you might be the
Yep.
Falcons thinking like, yo, do we want to have to play Julio Jones in the playoffs in 3 years? Like, probably not. Probably don't want to do that. So, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say. Like, what do you do? Do you take a
Yeah.
first
I
from the
I
Seahawks
tell you
where
what.
that's probably going to be a pick in the
Yeah.
20s? Or do you take a
Yeah.
third and you don't
It's
have to worry about him?
I tell you what, this Julio Jones thing is becoming a problem
It
because
is.
now you're starting to see the possibilities of where he can go, and it's like, wow, those teams get like double better. Essentially,
Yes.
is what it is.
Yeah, yes.
Because you're essentially any team for most teams he's probably going to get or that have been talked about. They've already have one great or one good wide receiver already. You know, that is a first man. So when you bring Julio Jones over, like that guy's obviously being the second wide receiver, and
Yep.
you're going to have a great 1-2 punch in that, and it's going to be dangerous. So I mean, if he goes to the AFC, I'm happy about it. But if he goes to the NFC, it just makes that division a little tougher. But we'll see. We'll see where it all, when it's all said and done, where the chips fall. But it's definitely interesting to see it play out. These are kind of the storylines that I like, that doesn't really affect me too much with my fandom, but
Right.
it's interesting to see like where a top talent like Julio Jones goes and what the Falcons will get in return for a guy like Julio Jones. It's just always good to see that, because it kind of resets the market for veterans and certain things like that when it comes to trades. So,
Yep. Yep.
I'm here for it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But hey, it's this is what sports is about, especially off-season sports. Um, Speaking of off-season sports, guys, we are doing a preview of every Monday night game leading up to the NFL season. And this week tonight we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to be
Yeah.
analyzing
Yep.
that game. Um, let you know the ins and outs. We're going to give our predictions as well, and we'll see how they stack up, when the season comes around. But yeah, it's America's team versus the Liberty Bells, essentially. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles are cracked,
They are.
and
They are. They are.
they need some help. So we're definitely going to be talking about that tonight. Feel free to tune in that. That's going to probably be 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9
Yep.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
If you guys are into that, we'll bring some great insight, break down both sides of the teams, and really let you know. Nick, other than that, you got anything for the people at home?
Oh man, just good to be back. Good little Memorial Day here. Enjoy the day. If you have the day off, that's awesome. Enjoy it. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about, right? Saw a cool little post the other day where a veteran was talking about, that's what those soldiers would want, right? The people that Memorial Day is here for, the people that gave their lives. They would want us to have a good
absolutely.
time, you know what I'm saying? So if you're off work today, man, have a good time. Enjoy it. Even if you're not,
Yep,
when you get home, it's Memorial Day. Like have a good day, man. It's a good day to be thankful for all the stuff we got.
yeah,
So NFL being one of those things.
absolutely.
And I'm excited to talk
Yes,
to you about the NFL tonight, there, Scott.
yeah, it'll be a great time. All right, everyone, well, have a good one, jabronis.
We'll see you guys.